Okay, so now you have your two side pieces with your little mock welt pocket stitched in. You're going to take two front pieces, make sure they're opposites, and put the two facing pieces to one side. You'll need them later. So with the two front pieces facing each other, okay, so with the shoulder seams out, lay a side panel and a side panel with the welt pocket down, right sides together. So it looks like that. Pin in place, just to hold it while you do it, and you put your edge. And the joy of this, of course, is the felt is nice and straight, be nice and easy to sew. And you're going to machine a 1/4 inch seam on both sides, down from top to bottom, and you're going to encase or catch in the welt seam. Now remember, you're going to be sewing through 4 layers of felt as you go through the welt, so just take your time while you're doing that. You may have to adjust your seam, your stitch length going through that, but most likely not. And don't forget to start and finish securely on both ends. Alright, so now you have your seam done. You're going to take that now to your iron, and you're going to press that so that it's going to be nice and flat, and we're going to do a little edge stitch down along that. So I'm going to take that to the iron. Don't have your iron too hot. I'm using actually a small little travel iron rather than a big domestic iron. And when you're ironing it, the seam allowance, which is here, goes towards the front panel, and what that will do is it will level in that, so you should have no little gap at the top. Now it's a narrow little seam, so just be careful there. While the iron is heating up, I'll just stitch the second one so that we get both done at the same time. And you're going to have your seam allowance going towards your front panel. Seam allowance going towards your front panel. Okay, my iron is ready, so I'll just press that. Be careful not to have your iron too hot. You don't want to over flatten the felt, that it gets a bit of a shine on it. Now, when you've that done, then very carefully edge stitch along the seam. That just gives it the coat, that's going to give the coat that lovely professional finish. So there you see, I'm sorry the light might be a little bit bright there, but it's a lovely line of edge stitching up along that, and that keeps the seam allowance. Do the same on the other side. there's your 2 front pieces now ready. So we'll set those aside for now. Next part is the back, and we're going to sew down a seam. So I'm just going to mark it with a pin just to the length. So you have your back panel from the notch down to your pin, sew a seam, and that's going to create the back pleat. And don't forget to start and end securely. The pleat is going to be flattened. So it's going to be a nice flat. So just check that it's got a centered over on, and take that to your iron and press that, and then on the right side we'll do an edge stitch around that as well to give that a lovely finish on the back. If you're using your a 1/4 inch foot, you may have the, use the foot to help you keep your edge stitching nice and even. When you're turning the box at the end, I'll just turn this in here a little bit now. Turning in the box at the end, make sure needle down, pivot, needle down again. It's usually only a stitch over. Up the second side. And we have a lovely back piece. Edge stitched, nicely pleated. And if you wish, pleat it all the way down yourself with your iron. I like it nice and loose, but each to their own, whatever is your particular preference. So I'll leave you to get that much done, and then we'll come back and we'll take a look at the next part.